Hello, everyone. I cannot see if the camera is blocking any of the text at all while I'm recording this. So if it is, I apologize at all. But I am performing my data analysis on the Kaggle Syria data and crimes in Boston. I know, there's two of them. But for the introduction, we're tasked to submit and answer 5 questions related to data and utilize this data analysis and visualization skills we've learned. Now, given all the variety of data sets we have had, I decided on more of I wanted a little bit more than just to work on one. I wanted to maximize my practice with Tableau. So I chose Boston crime data. I'm doing 2 questions from that, as well as Kaggle serial data. Um, yeah, because I really wanted to hone my skills, and of course, like we are presented the option of Excel or Tableau, and I thought Tableau would be the best visualization, so that's why I decided to roll with it. As for the data preparation, it was pretty simple. First of all, to prepare, all we had to do was download the data and then import it into Tableau. And I attempted to do a single workspace so I could have all 5 questions there. Unfortunately, it didn't work. It got a little funky, and I don't have the expertise to do that, so I did 2 separate workspaces. As you could see, you could go back to part 2 for the final project and find that if you're interested. But here we go, Boston crime data. Uh, my question 1 was which streets have the highest crime rate and which have the lowest? And as you can see, there's 2 graphs here, one on the left, one on the right. The left one goes from high to low, and the right one goes to low to high. And as you can see on the right graph, there is a lot there are a lot and a lot of streets that don't have any crime at all. It's very concentrated in specific places. Um, so obviously you want to avoid like Blue Hill Avenue, you want to avoid Washington Street, but there's really a lot of safe places to live in Boston. Um, Overall, yes. As for question 2, how have crime rates changed from the year 2015 to 2018? This question only involved 2 variables, the year and the number of incident numbers. So, given the parameters, a bar graph almost feels irrelevant when a line graph provides a much better visualization, so that's what I rolled with here. And I was able to do that by slotting the year in the column category and the incident number in the row category on Tableau. And as you can see here, from 2015 here, all the way to 2016, 2017, there's a noticeable spike. But then it drops from 2017 to 2018. I think the reason for this is because this is when the pandemic started and more people were having to quarantine. So I don't know if this accurately reflects crime data, but for the purpose of the data, we'll say that there's a decrease in crime. Likely though, I'm sure it went back right back up the moment the quarantine is over. On the Kaggle cereal data. Question 3, you're going to be running a marathon very soon. What cereal should you eat to be healthy and energized? Well, to answer this question, I clustered up all the cereals, all the names of cereals consisting of calories, carbohydrates, potassium, protein, and vitamins. Um, and as you can see, this right menu is probably really confusing to look at, you know. But really, what you have to look at is over here. There's 3 clusters available, and as you can see, it displays an average number of calories, carbohydrates, potassium, proteins, and vitamins. And overall, cluster 3 seems to be the healthiest as it provides, while it has a lot of calories, it has a lot of carbohydrates, which can be very good for like exercising, a decent amount of potassium, a decent amount of proteins, and a significant amount of vitamins, which should be very healthy and energizing. And also, you're going to want more calories if you're going to be working out quite a bit. Question 4. What are the top 3 cereals that would be great for dieting? And to do this, it was pretty simple. All I had to do was sort the names by the amount of calories and sort low to high. Because really, if you're dieting, then the number one thing you look at is calories. Less calories, the better. And to do that, you could see the top 3 options, all with the same amount of calories listed. All bran with extra fiber, puffed rice, and puffed wheat. Those are going to be your 3 best options if you're trying to lose weight. As for question 5, which cereal seems to be the unhealthiest? Um, and again, once again, I clustered based off the average fat, the average sodium, and the average sugar. And overall, if we're looking at what are the unhealthiest, anything in cluster 1 and cluster 3 is likely going to be the unhealthiest. Mainly because 1, you see a lot of sugar. Sugar is not healthy. 2, there's a significant amount of sodium. While cluster 4 has the most sodium, it's definitely not the healthiest option. Healthiest option is going to be cluster 2. But cluster 4 has less sugar and less fat, so I determined that it was healthier than cluster 1 and 3. And then cluster 1 and 3 are both unhealthy in that they have a high sodium, but cluster 3 has a much higher fat ratio, whereas cluster 1 has a much higher average sugar ratio. And then of course cluster 2 being the healthiest. So what did we learn from this? Well, looking at the Boston crimes, it was taken at the start of COVID, so it's hard to determine if that's really like a fail-safe, reliable pattern, despite the large proportion of data obtained. That being said, you really want to avoid, like, as we go back, you really want to avoid all of these concentrated crime areas right here. And really most places are relatively, like, safe, judging by the data. As for Kaggle cereal, all bran fiber, puffed rice, and buffed wheat, as we saw here, offer the greatest opportunity for dieting. Cluster 3 for dataset question 3, which is this question. If you're trying to energize yourself and you're doing like a high, I don't know, a marathon, working out, those options are going to be, anything in cluster 3 is going to be your best bet for that. As for question 5, the most unhealthiest, anything in cluster 1 and 3, which is actually practically half of the entire catalog listed. So you're really going to want to avoid that. Preferably cluster 2, but cluster 4 isn't a bad bet if you're okay with sodium. Thank you very much for your time.